Hi, welcome back to a new video, and the inspiration behind this is I watched a video recently from Tin House Studios, and I will link it down below, where Scott talks about, and by the way, if you don't already follow Tin House Studios and you are interested in the experiences and life of being a commercial photographer, go and follow Scott's stuff. It's great. But one of his recent videos, he talked about buying gear used, and that triggered in my mind that I actually said on a video probably over a year ago now that I was going to put a video together talking about my experiences in that regard, and I finally got round to doing it. So that's what this video is about, and the reason why I wanted to state this is I've been amateur, professional photographer for well over 30 years now, and in that entire period of time I have bought precisely 3 camera bodies new, sort of, and I'll come on to the sort of in a short moment. I'm going to talk you through the 3 and the scenarios behind it, but yeah, 3 bodies I bought new, that's it. Okay, so I'm a huge advocate of buying camera equipment used. I buy almost all of my equipment used. I've had a very good experience, but I want to talk through some of that with you. But first of all, let's have a chat about my history of buying new, and for each of them, whether I would consider it to have been worth it or not. So let's start with camera number 1. Now, camera number 1, and before I go into this, I do want to caveat that the cameras I'm about to show you, with one exception, are not the cameras that I bought at the actual time. 2 of these I've rebought. And the first one is this, Praktica BX20. This was the second camera body I bought. I got from my uncle, I bought it off of him, a second-hand Praktica MTL 3 or 5. It's behind me and I can't remember which model it is. But I wanted to move on from that, and the best thing I could afford at the time, and keep in mind I would probably be about 20 at this time, was one of these, a Praktica BX20. So I bought this new box and I was very, very, very happy about it. One important thing to take into account here, this is before I worked in photographic retail. I was very new to it, and so I bought basically a new body and lens. This combo, in fact, a 50mm f1.8 Pentagon and a BX20 body, and yeah, I've got no regrets around that at all. Now, could I have got something better at the time if I'd have bought second-hand? Absolutely, but in my defence, I didn't really know any better at that point. But I really liked the Praktica. I got on with it. I repurchased one and reshot some stuff on it a year or so ago. I'll link to the video on that one. I think I've done a video on that. If I haven't, I need to. And I really enjoyed shooting with this. So, number 1, I didn't regret. However, that's where we come on to number 2. Now, number 2, this isn't exactly the same camera that I bought new, okay? This is a Nikon F601 AF. Now, they did 2 versions of this. They did the AF and they did the M. And the M was a manual focus only one, but it only takes and meters properly with autofocus lenses. And I actually traded in my BX20 for this. So this was the 3rd camera, sort of, that I bought. And yeah, I really made a mistake doing that. I just started working at a camera shop One of the other sales people there convinced me to do this, and I regretted it very quickly, in all honesty. Now, I have reviewed the 601 AF, and it's actually a capable camera because you can pick these up dirt cheap. You can pick these up for about £25, and it's a reasonably solid camera for that money, but get the AF, not the M, as I did. I think I bought Sigma lenses with it, and yeah, Sigma autofocus lenses, which were really awkward to use because there was no feel, it was just all play and slop on the manual focusing rings because they were primarily designed for autofocus. We didn't have focus peaking or anything like that because, SLRs, and it was just really awkward to use. And I bought the M rather than the AF version because I think it was around about an £80 price difference between them. And this was the early 90s, so 80 quid was a lot of money back then. But it soured me on buying new camera gear for reasons that were partly my own fault, but I definitely could have bought second-hand and got something significantly better for the amount of money that I spent on sort of one of these. That's not to dismiss the 601 AF. I actually think it's a damn good camera, but the M, no, steer clear of it. But I shouldn't have bought it new. I really shouldn't. And for a long time, I didn't buy anything new after that. I went through, I got rid of the 601M, sold that. I was working in a different camera shop at this point. Got rid of that, sold it on, and started my Canon journey. So I bought second-hand A1, second-hand FTB, F1, F1N, T90. I was Canon all the way, and all of it bought second-hand, including a whole suite of lenses. So I ran purely primes back then, had a Metz 45 hammerhead flash unit, 300 TL I think it was the flash, the Canon flash unit I had, something like that. It might have been different, I can't remember off the top of my head. If I remember, I'll put it in a text block down the bottom. But anyway, I bought a lot of used gear. I even bought all my bags used. So used Billingham Hadleys for everyday, which I still use a Billingham Hadley. I think it's a great bag, always has been. I've owned a few of them over the years. I also had a 455 as my main camera bag, which is far too big for my needs these days. But with all of that kit, I could pack it all in there. So it was a great bag, and I did a lot of work with that kit. I really did. Fast forward, I got into digital, and my first digital SLR was a Fujifilm S2 Pro. Now, I had the S2 Pro for quite a while, and I really enjoyed and really liked the S2 Pro. I've got its later model, its successor, the S3 Pro, and I occasionally shoot still with an S3 Pro. I really like the sensor in them. They're slow to read and write, the files, but the raw files are pretty good, even though they're a bit big for the 6/12 megapixels. But it's a solid camera, and I really liked the S2. But it's the S2 that led me to the last camera I sort of bought new. So I was shooting with my S2 Pro one day, and now I normally use a wrist tether or a strap, and I've always been really quite dogmatic about this because I've nearly dropped cameras a lot of times over the years. And I was shooting a friend's band for some promo work for them off a set of stairs, and I didn't have my hand in the wrist strap, and it was a bit wet. It had been raining, it was still drizzling a little bit, and I dropped the camera from quite a height, and it did not survive the impact. I had insurance, so I claimed on the insurance, but the insurance company, who I will not name but will never use again for camera insurance, insisted that they were going to buy the replacement, and after lots of arguments and backwards and forth, they bought the replacement for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no issue with the replacement that I got, which was this camera just here, which is a Nikon D7000. Now, the reason why I managed to argue for the D7000 was because one of the great things about one of the things about the S3 is it will still use, S2 and S3, is it will still use internal motor driven autofocus Nikon lenses, and I had a few of those, and I wanted to make sure that whatever I replaced it with was a similar semi-pro stroke pro grade camera, but would also still allow me to use all of those lenses, which is how I ended up with the D7000. Now, a lot of the shooting I do in this day and age, I tend to shoot mirrorless, but I've always kept the D7000 for the simple reason it's actually a really nice workhorse camera. It's a really nice size for a DSLR. The lenses for it being f-mount are easy to get hold of, and with Nikon's move to mirrorless, relatively cheap. And this is a good camera. I'd strongly recommend picking one of these up second hand if you're interested and you find one at the right price, because it's a good camera to use. I don't think I've ever reviewed it or really talked about it, but this stood me well, and I used it an awful lot before I went mirrorless. So I've probably not talked as much about this as I should have done. I used to do a bit of motorsport photography using the D7000, and believe it or not, the S2 and the S3 Pro, and the S2 and S3 Pro are really not motorsport cameras, or rather not what you'd expect to shoot motorsport with. Might do a video on those, that could be interesting, maybe. Anyway, those are the three cameras that I have bought sort of new in my life, which is interesting because I have owned, and probably still own, over 100 different cameras of different sorts, and from different sources. I've bought cameras in flea markets, second-hand shops, I've bought them on eBay, I've bought them through photographic retailers, all second-hand. So over 97–98% of the cameras and lenses I've ever purchased have all been second-hand. I've just picked up a new lens for my Micro Four Thirds system, the Olympus 75mm f1.8. Bought it second-hand. It was under half price. Turned up, it was absolutely immaculate. Now, in that entire time, and I'm going to put aside buying job lots that on eBay that are sold as for parts or not working, because you know what you're getting there. The stuff that I have bought with full anticipation that it is going to work, in all of those years, I've only, believe it or not, ever had two issues. One was I think it was a Takina 28–70f 2.8 I bought for, and that's full frame equivalent. I bought for Nikon f-mount, and one of the lenses had decentered in it, so half of the image was really, really blurry. The other half was pretty sharp, but it was unusable. Bought that from MPB. They took it back and refunded me, no problem whatsoever, so no issues with that. The other one was I bought an EOS 5 from London Camera Exchange. Now, this wasn't their fault. The couriers had clearly played football with it, and I did put a video together about this, and the entire bottom plate was cracked, the PCB underneath was damaged, etc. It'd switch on, but it wasn't really usable at all. They gave me an option when I contacted them about it. They said, we can either give you a refund, or if you want, we've got a spare body that we use for spares and repairs, and the bottom plate and PCB on that's absolutely fine. Do you want us to repair it? Which they did. Didn't take that long to do. Came straight back to me, and this is one of my favourite film cameras that I own in terms of autofocus. This is a great camera, the EOS 5. It's nicely built. I've shot gigs with this. I've done quite a bit with this. I really do like it as a camera. So it does mean you can buy stuff second-hand. Now, if you're nervous about doing it, Stick with people like MPB, Park Cameras, London Camera Exchange, etc. People where you know you're going to get a warranty on it. Certainly I know that both London Camera Exchange and MPB offer 6-month warranty on all of the kit they sell. So that's reasonable for second-hand kit, and I've rarely had a problem with them. I've bought a lot of stuff off of both of those, and as I say, the 2 times I have had an issue, they've dealt with it really quickly and really well, which has been great. I've bought off of eBay. Now, again, putting aside the, yeah, it's sold parts or not working, the job lots, you've seen my videos on that and my expectations around that. I have bought some things off of eBay, understanding that there is always going to be a risk with it. Now, it does depend on who you're buying from on there. Are they a reputable seller? What's their trading history like, etc., etc.? Do they even know cameras and lenses? And there's always going to be a bit more of a risk buying it from eBay than from a dedicated photographic retailer. So you have to take that into account. The main thing to know is know what you're buying, know what the common problems of it are, and know what its second-hand value is. So find that out. Be particularly wary of auctions, because people can get massively carried away there and you can end up paying over the odds. I've seen cameras sell for what is actually 2 or 3 times their real market value in auctions on eBay, because people have just gone mad. So don't fall into that trap. So know what it's worth. If you can find a good buy it now offer, that's a good way of doing it. But again, know what its second-hand value is before you shell out for it. And with older cameras, you know, particularly really old 50s, 60s, 70s film stuff, be very aware that it might still have issues, even if it's sold as working. The only way to really be sure in that regard is by buying a camera that has been film tested. They put the shots from the film camera up there and they are willing to accept it back if you do find a problem with it. But that's a bit unicorn on eBay, and you will pay over the odds for it. So it is an element of risk. For modern gear, I personally stick to the established retailers, and I primarily, as I say, use either MPB or London Camera Exchange. They tend to be my go-tos. You may well have different ones. Depending on what country you're in as well, you may have other options. London Camera Exchange, for example, is purely UK based. But yeah, that's effectively my experience of buying new, why I've rarely done it, and a few tips around buying used cameras. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and the notification bell to be notified when new videos come out. But thanks very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.